Welcome to Aligned and Abundant, the podcast where authenticity meets practicality, compassion, alignment, and abundance. I'm your host, Kristin Marcario, and I help you slow down, become mindful, improve your mental and emotional health, and live life on your highest timeline. Together, we'll talk strategy, life lessons, and share inspiring stories of people who have overcome obstacles, grown through their pain, and risen above adversity. If you are looking for divine inspiration, rooted in love and light, paired with practical tools and encouragement, you are in the right place at the right time. From one heart to another, you are an amazing and divine soul with a purpose. Now take my hand and let's walk this path together. Welcome to another episode of Aligned and Abundant. On today's episode, I have a very special guest. Her name is Kristin Baker, and she is the founder of Kristin Baker Photography and Design, a luxury newborn and family photographer business who also has a wonderful mindset when it comes to accomplishing anything that she puts her mind to. She is going to make it happen. Welcome, Kristin. I'm so excited to have you on today's show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, a little background. Kristin and I met a long time ago in the school system. I was a school teacher and she was a certified therapist, and our worlds collided here and there depending on which students we had to service. And then we each kind of went off and did our own thing. And I've been watching Kristin as she has bloomed and blossomed and started her own photography business and really just become such an amazing photographer. First of all, your photos are
Thank
stunning.
you.
I
Thank
do
you.
genuinely refer people to you. And
Thank you.
I'm just so amazed at the quality of work that you do because you can genuinely see that you put your heart into it. And so tell me a little bit about what made you decide to leave the school setting and follow this passion?
So I have been working in a school as a school social worker. I was doing in-home therapy on the side, and I had just become a mom. And so my oldest was, I went out on maternity leave, I want to say for like 8 months. And I think I was just feeling so lost in just like what I was doing and not feeling like, even though I knew like everything came very easy to me. Like I could connect with children really easily. I could connect with parents, with coworkers, but I just like didn't feel like my heart was in it. And I felt like I was kind of getting drained sometimes too. And like the burnout was real. And then to hold space for everyone and then come home and still be a mom. And also not feel like I was being financially rewarded for it, because in reality, anyone who works in a school knows those people who are working there are not doing it for the paycheck. So that was also like, I think I just held a lot of resentment about working in a school, and like, I was gonna start my own practice eventually, but then like, do I really want to like put all of this into it, all this time, all this stress, knowing it may not actually ever pay off too? And if you're sitting there and working with insurance companies and rates and stuff like that, I didn't want to have anyone else dictate what my value was. And so it actually came in the most random way. We had taken my daughter for Christmas pictures, and my daughter was 8 months old at the time, and she was not a smiley baby. She was very serious. And we take her, and my husband and I are doing cartwheels behind this one, trying to get her to smile. And she's just like, click, click, click. And I'm like, oh, like this woman had the most beautiful eye and like the most beautiful aesthetics, but like her personality just didn't match it. And so we came home that night, and I was supposed to go back to work the next day. And I said to my husband, I'm going to be a photographer. And he's like, what? And it literally, like, I had never even thought about it. And it just, something in me that day felt called to do it.
Wow.
And I took it and ran with it. So like I did still go back to work, because in reality, bills had to be paid. We had a daughter, like I can't just not work. But I poured every ounce of my being into photography over the next year. Anyone I knew who was pregnant, anyone I knew who had little kids, when I tell you I was like, I'm going to be a photographer, I had never picked up a professional camera in my life. So I had to learn how to use a camera. I had to learn lighting. I had to learn just the basics of the actual mechanics of it. And then from there, learn how to create a business. I knew working with people would always come easily to me. So I poured every ounce of my being. And I remember going to my parents and I asked them for a loan. And I made this list of like, I'm going to need these props. I'm going to need this. I'm going to need this. And it was $40,000. And they laughed in my face. And I actually now, and I'm such a big believer in everything happens for a reason. And I almost feel like had they given me that, I definitely wouldn't have the passion and the drive maybe to continue. So I needed someone to tell me no in that moment because it lit a fire in me to be like, hold on, you don't believe in me. And it wasn't that they didn't believe in me. My mother was like, you are such a good therapist. You have such a connection with kids. You have such a way with people. You shine in every role that you've been given. Why are you going to give this up? You're really just starting your career. You're going to completely change now. And I just felt with photography, like once I started and I got behind the camera, it felt so right. Something in me, it lit a fire in me, like that creativity that like I had just been, it just became unleashed. And like it was all consuming. It's all that I could think about. So she said no. So I borrowed a camera from my uncle, who was a hobbyist photographer. And I was like, okay, we're just going to figure it out. Every spare dollar that I made from working in a school, I put into my business. And I invested so much in the beginning and did it just with blood, sweat, and tears and like just so much passion. And I'll never forget like my first month in business, I made $24,000, which now for me seems like nothing. But at the time, being like, oh my God, I'm going from a paycheck where I'm making $1,600 a paycheck to $24,000 for 3 days of work with Chris's Minis. It was amazing because it was financially rewarding. It was good for my soul. I feel like I lit up. I felt the connection. And then to feel that financial reward too come back, it just felt like it was full circle. Like this is so meant to be for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the confirmation. That was it right there. Besides how you felt, it was like, okay, the universe is going to support me in this, you know? And
Yes.
so that's amazing that you were so lit up. You knew it's like this feeling, right? It's this feeling. And you were like
you can't ignore it.
Yeah.
You can't ignore it.
Yeah. And so that probably gives you even more sense of pride, knowing that you really built it from the ground up. Yes, it would have been an easier path potentially if you would have been given the loan, but like this makes it even more special and even more powerful. And again, I have just continued to see you rise, and the moments that you capture is just truly amazing. And you've also been featured in both People Magazine and Yahoo News, and you photographed the Sorrentinos, right?
Yes. Yeah. So Mike and Lauren are one of my clients. I actually work with a lot of celebrities, but I sign a lot of NDAs, so I don't share a lot of what I do. But you can leave it up to the imagination of any celebrities that live in our state who have had babies within the last 5-6 years. And I feel like networking has gotten me a lot of places amongst that caliber of clients. I've done a lot of politicians too. Those I just don't post because I don't want to ever alienate anyone on either side. Everyone's money is green. So I'll take it all. I think the biggest full circle moment for me came not even from photographing the Sorrentinos, but when I first started my business, I learned all the ins and outs of the business, but it was also newborn safety is such a huge factor in working with babies and knowing how to correctly pose them, what signs to look out for, and like the ins and outs just of working with brand new babies. But most of my clients are under 10 days old. So it's the most delicate little babies. And how do I work with them? And so what I did was I sought out the best in the business. There was this woman, her name was Anna Brandt. She was like almost like a modern day kind of Ann Geddes. And she photographs like 600 babies a year. She travels all over. She is just like a powerhouse in the photography industry. And she was one of the first people that I mentored with. I did a couple workshops with her, and then I personally mentored with her as well. And during COVID, when the whole world shut down, when all of a sudden it's like it throws a huge wrench in like who's gonna let me touch their brand new baby again? Anna was such a trailblazer in our industry, and she started doing virtual summits. So I actually got to start teaching alongside her, which I think was probably the biggest full circle moment for my career. That was when I was like, doesn't matter how many zeros are at the end of my bank account. That was like you made it. Not only am I getting the financial reward, but just to be recognized amongst my peers, to know that like my work is on par with some of the best in the industry, whether or not I promote myself in that way with other photographers or not, like to know that that's where I am was just probably like the most rewarding part. And to know that that was something that, because someone told me no and it lit this fire in me, that I did it all on my own. It was something that no one could ever take away from me. That mindset of like, keep going, keep going, keep going. It's going to get bigger. This business is going to be something bigger than you could have ever imagined. Like really just it such a full circle moment for me.
I think that's just confirmation, because sometimes we can imagine what we want the outcome to be, but sometimes God has an even bigger plan beyond what we could possibly even imagine. So that was probably just confirmation that,
Yeah.
and like you felt like you had made it to be recognized. And it's just always so special to be seen. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I can remember being at one of her workshops, I want to say like 2 or 3 years into my career, and saying to her, like, I came when I was brand new and I like wasn't even holding babies yet because I wanted to go about all of my training for safety the right way. So that was one of my first experiences ever photographing a baby, was with her and her teaching me like, this is how you hold babies, this is how you do this. To then meeting with her again like a year later, and remember I was like, I quit my full-time job, I'm doing this full time. And then a year later to be like, I'm here, I'm back at your workshop again. I opened up my first studio. And then fast forward a couple of years later to be like, now I'm teaching alongside of you. And now in a world where AI is taken over and people are so nervous about like our industry, to see that my business is still that one that's thriving. My business, I'm coming up on 10 years of being in business this May. To think that like that dream that I had, that I listened to that voice and that I never gave up, and it's been like financially rewarding, emotionally rewarding, even just like all the other parts of it too, of like I own my own business so I can be a class mom, I can dictate my schedule, I can show up for my children and my family in ways that I wouldn't have been able to if I didn't work for myself and listen to that voice. It's provided us with the most beautiful lifestyle that I could have never imagined. Being able to buy the home that I'm in right now, to have my pictures in People magazine, like things that like I didn't even dream that big. And it's all because I listened to myself from the beginning.
And that's so amazing. Honestly, like I want to ask you, how did you just trust? How did you lean into that? Because I, for example, I've picked up a camera and I took some courses and I was like, no, I can't figure this out. I cannot wrap my head around this. I guess what I'm asking is, how did you know? How did you trust? Because some people try things and they give up. So, what advice would you have to keep going?
I think listening to your intuition is huge. I felt like, and granted, it has not been all rainbows and unicorns. Like there are hard parts about owning your business that people don't talk about a lot. There is a part of my brain sometimes that never really feels like it shuts off because I'm always in my business. There's a part where I'm always on my phone. I'm always like checking it, things like that. There are parts of it that I don't love as well, but all of the good outweighs the few difficult parts of it. But I think just trusting that instinct of knowing that like I felt called to do this. And every single time I'm with a client, there's a smile on my face. When I am culling the pictures, I literally am just looking smiling. And even sometimes when I'm in the thick of it, where I'm like, oh my God, this toddler, this big brother, big sister who's struggling with their whole life changing is now come sit and look like you're so perfect next to a baby, and they're losing it and mom's losing it. And like, I think just keeping the faith in myself of knowing that like I'm creating something so beautiful for these people, And it's so rewarding for me. It's rewarding for me to see what I'm creating and like to have an actual image of it at the end. And then to get that feedback from the client, that's never lost on me. Every email I'll get from a client, like, oh my God, these are amazing. I'm crying. Or like a text I'll get when I send their proofing gallery of like, I don't even know how I'm going to pick. These are perfection. That reassurance always. And I feel like I'm such a big believer in like signs from the universe. And even on some days where I'm having a bad day or I'm like in the thick of the busy season, and I'm like, oh, when am I going to get out of this? I'll say sometimes like, I need a sign. I need a sign. Sure enough, I'll look on my computer in my Photoshop and I'll be like, my image is zoomed at 44.44%. Or just like the littlest things, or a new inquiry will come in and they want to book my highest collection. And it's just kind of like all these little reassurances that like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I'm meant to be doing. It constantly brings me joy. It brings me fulfillment in all of the ways. I like financial abundance, like just feeling good on a daily basis, the freedom that it gives me, all the reassurance from the clients. I think I just always am looking for the signs and like always just listening to that intuition telling me to keep going. I know it's not always going to be easy. Like 10 years in business, there are always going to be difficult parts. I don't doubt that there's going to be difficult parts way down the line as well. But I just know that this is what I'm called to do. And I just trust my intuition, and like sometimes to go back and like think about all of the reasons why I started this, reflect on those, feel into those, and like lean into those feelings. And I think there's so much power in that too when you're having a bad day, like thinking back. And sometimes I'll just sit there and visualize the first day that I walked into the first studio that I opened up, and like that feeling of like, oh my God, I did this, this is all me. And just tapping back into those feelings to kind of like help get me out of a funk too on days where I'm doubting myself. There's so much power in that.
And it's so wild to think that having been so successful that you would have those moments of doubt or where you're questioning, are you still on the right path? But like you said, I like the fact that you were acknowledging the fact that not every day is going to feel great. Not every day is going to feel rewarding. There's going to be days where you feel overwhelmed by life. You know, you have three children, and it is just a lot in general when you're running your own business. You have three children to care for and keep your own sanity and focus on your health and your friendships and your marriage. Like it can be a lot as a woman, you know, but taking the time to balance everything, I think, is so important. And I love that you kept saying to feel the feelings, because that's true embodiment. That is what helps to manifest. And I think that when you set your heart and your mind on something and you really feel into the feelings of what you want, like, because we don't want the things, we want the feelings. So when you're getting that feedback from your clients and it's lighting your heart up, that is the feedback. And yes, having money in the bank is amazing because it affords you a lifestyle that we can only dream about. And it's just so rewarding. But on the other hand, knowing that you're capturing those beautiful moments that moms and dads will look back on and will tear at their heart when it's 10 years later and you can look at your little cute baby and its beauty and that pure essence is just such an amazing gift that you are giving to so many people in the world. And that is just truly so admirable. So I love that for you. And I think also if you were to ever pivot, I think you would probably be the type of person who would know. You know what I mean? Like you would
Yeah.
just feel into it. And I
Yeah.
do believe in universal signs, especially the angel numbers and all of that. Like those are big confirmations that, hey, you're on the right path. You're being divinely supported and guided. And I love that you trust the universe to give you those signs. You know, if we look for them, we can find them.
And I also am such a big believer too. And like, as you're going through the thick of it, like, because it's easy for me as I'm sitting here now reflecting on it to speak about how amazing it is. But when you're in the thick of it, when my kids are losing their shit, I'm trying to get them out of the house in the morning before breakfast. And I'm like, I have a client at 9:30 and like, I want to try to squeeze in a workout and do all these things to, to like really just try to stay grounded and like, why did I start this? Why? And then to sit there and like reflect back on like my job, and like think about like when we're chasing abundance, when we're chasing money, what does money give you? Money gives you freedom. At the very end of the day, it gives you freedom to live a lifestyle you want to live, to have certain things, to be afforded certain opportunities. So sometimes even when I'm in the thick of it, or even just in the busy season, I'll kind of sit there and think about like, well, what am I, or like maybe even in the slow season when like I'm not having clients pouring in and I'm only having 5, 6, 7 sessions in a month as opposed to 30, to sit there and be like, okay, well, what am I after? I'm after that feeling of freedom. So instead of focusing on the lack that I don't have right now, because I could very easily be like, well, I don't have enough clients coming in. Oh, like, what am I going to do? I'm stressed. I can sit there and think about, okay, I'm after that sense of freedom. So where am I getting? And then really kind of like reflect and reframe my thinking of like, my job affords me the freedom to take my kids to school. My creating this company affords me the freedom to go get a pedicure on a Tuesday if I want to. And tapping into those feelings kind of also, I've noticed for myself, help me attract more of that abundance. And like everything comes full circle with attracting those clients. If I sit there and think about the lack, I'm just going to attract more of it. If I think about how did this job afford me freedom in all of these different ways, I attract more of it.
Yeah, you're nailing manifestation on the head. We can't focus on the lack because, like you said, like energy attracts like energy. So if we keep focusing on the lack, we're going to draw in more opportunities that are going to say, here's the lack that you're thinking about. Here's the lack that you're focusing all your energy on. So yeah, even if you are only getting 5 to 7 clients and on your busy season, your busy months, you're getting 30, just being grateful and expressing gratitude for those 5 to 7 is what's going to continue to bring in more and more abundant opportunities also, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a client. It could be an opportunity such as being featured in a magazine or getting a dream client. Those are also such things that give you just a thank you for doing what you're doing also.
And just reframing like the opportunity to rest, the opportunity, like you said, as moms, we wear so many hats. I am a mom of 3. I'm a wife. I try to be a present mom, a present wife, a present friend. I try to also still take care of my body. I ran a marathon this year. I exercise every day. So factoring in those things too, and like the fact that like my company affords me that freedom, creating this lifestyle that I created this for myself. And when I sat there, I remember thinking about like talking with my husband that one day, sitting on our couch in the living room saying, I think I'm going to be a photographer, and us laughing about it. And he's like, okay, go ahead. He's like, I knew whatever you're going to do, Kristin, you're going to do like wholeheartedly and you're going to be amazing. You have to like think about what you really want. And in my head that day, I was like, I want a job where I am financially rewarded, but where I can still show up as a present mom, and I can watch my kids grow, and I can go into their school, and I can not ever miss a class trip or a graduation or whatever it may be. And I want a job where I can go and surprise my husband at work, and, or like also be able to do all of these amazing things. I want to create something that will support all of those. So I think about really like when I was creating my company, and I didn't know, I wasn't into manifesting at that point. Like I didn't know about like all the laws of attraction. I just remember thinking like, what do I want to feel? Because I knew what I was currently feeling in my role working in a school and working in home therapy was literally giving me the opposite of what I wanted for my life. And like you said, like attracts like. So like if I'm going to continue to do that, I'm only going to attract more of it. And I remember even when I started my business, I remember my mentor saying to me, who is your ideal client? Think about that ideal client, envision them, feel what it feels like when that ideal client reaches out to you. And granted, I had to learn a lot of lessons, and my ideal client has evolved so much just as my business has evolved, my pricing structure has evolved, my lifestyle has evolved, but that same kind of person is always who's coming into me, who trusts me, who trusts my vision, who allows me to be creative, who knows that I'm going to handle their baby with such care, but that also I'm going to create timeless, amazing, beautiful heirlooms that get passed down for years and years and years and generations to come. And I think in a world where everything is so digital and whatnot, it's also so easy to forget. Like when you think about it, God forbid someone's house is on fire, Like aside from like your personal, like I need my password, I need my social security card, like I need my bill, all those things. The biggest thing people miss is pictures at that point. And you're like, you want those family memories. And I think I had to put things into perspective for a while because I felt a little bit of guilt when I first started. I was in a role where I was helping so many people, and now I'm in a role where it does maybe feel a little more vain, and I feel guilty about doing things. And I had to really like ground into that feeling of like, this is so important. Photos are so important. This is a family's history that gets passed down year after year. I'm telling a family story, and they're allowing me that. Like, that's a gift that someone allows me to come in and tell the story of when they welcomed their baby or when they were pregnant, or and like the amount of just ways I've been able to connect with people about like their fertility journeys and babies and celebrate their milestones and their first birthdays is just, it's not lost on me. And I think once I really got into that of like looking at who are my ideal clients and how do I feel when I connect with them, that has helped my business tremendously. And it's helped my mindset, and it's really helped me appreciate all of it so much.
I think that you nailed it on the head when you said that you wanted time freedom and financial freedom, but time freedom is number one on my priority list as well, because when I had my first two children, I was in the classroom full time and commuting. And so that just takes up so much time and space. So when I had my daughter 5 years ago, I really wanted my life to be different. And it took some time to get to a point where I am now, but that was the goal. Like, I want time freedom. That was like top of my priority list because I don't want to continue living a life where I'm running on the hamster wheel on someone else's time. I want to have the freedom to, like you said, go into your child's classroom and be present and be there for them, because again, at the end of the day, being a mom is such a blessing, and we are so lucky to have that opportunity. And it's just really beautiful when you wake up and you realize that you want to do something different. And not only is it different and good for you, but it has been such a blessing for your family. And for an outsider looking in, I do also love when you make your posts that say, when you are working with me, this is the family that you're supporting. You've pretty much removed the ego, which I don't even know if you realize, you know what I mean?
No,
Because
I
it's
didn't realize that
reflected,
at all.
yeah, like you've removed the ego because you're just acknowledging the fact that like you are, it's not just about you, it's about you and your beautiful family and what you are able to give to them. And that is just such a beautiful thing to witness, like from one mom to another. So really, you're doing such a great job.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And so you did mention marathon running, and good for you because I only dream about running. I don't think I can actually literally run. So that is in itself such a huge feat. I feel like you have the mental determination of a bull. Like, please tell me how this even came to be.
So this is like another, I think this is just my personality too, which I don't know if it's like a good thing or a bad thing, but I had been on like a weight loss journey for the last 4 years of gradually losing weight through strength training. And I realized eating was a huge part of it. And I got hypnotized to eat healthy. But then from there, I realized when I added the cardio in too, when I would run, it took it to another level. So, and I realized when I was running, it was a space like almost like forced meditation for
Mhm,
me.
mhm,
And I loved it because I feel like when I'm running, I feel like everything comes to me, all of the creative ideas for my business, all of even just like Christmas gifts for my kids, like all of the things. And I also feel like I let out my crazy a little bit. Like I feel like emotionally regulated after I run, but I was not always a runner. I had never run a mile
mhm.
3 years ago, ever. I could not run a mile without stopping. Even when I started running when I was losing weight, it was like I'd walk and run and walk and run and walk and run. And there was one day where we were going to pick up the kids from my mom's house, and she lives 5 miles away. And I said to my husband, like, I'm going to run to my mom's. And he's like, what? I'm like, I'm just going to try to run. And I did it. And then the next day, and I was sore. I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. But I felt amazing. And I think that runner's high gives you almost a sense of like delusional confidence, which I need. I thrive when I feel that. And I think that I feel like I can do anything and be anything and attract anything, and all of the things are going to come to me when I run. And the next day I was like, I'm going to run 10 miles. And I looked in the mirror and I said, I'm going to run 10 miles. I did it.
I can't
And it
wait.
took me,
Wait, back up for a minute. I can't even wrap my head around this. So you went from walking, running to you ran 5 miles and then you ran 10 miles the next day.
yeah.
You have
And
like,
then,
oh my God.
so my brother is a runner. Like he's always been a runner. And so I call my brother after, I'm like, I just ran 10 miles. Like, I feel like I can conquer the world. Like, this is amazing. And he's like, how? And he's like, what did you do? Like, did you fuel? And I'm like, what do you mean, did I fuel? Like, I didn't know the first thing about running, literally knew nothing about it. And he's laughing at me. And I'm like, I'm going to run a marathon. And he's like, what? I'm like, I'm going to run the New York City Marathon. Now, my brother, who was a runner, had never run a marathon at that time. And so he's like, no, you're not. And like, kind of like laughing at me. He's like, because that's his forte. And he knows all of the training, all the things that have to go into it. I'm like, no, hold on. Watch me. You're going to tell me no? I'm going to run a marathon. And I applied to like 80 charities over the course of 2 days. Sure enough, 5 days later, I got into the New York City Marathon. And so I ran New York last year, and then I ran Chicago this year. And now I've made it a goal to run like the 6 world majors, which are like Tokyo, Berlin, London, New York, Chicago, and Boston. And I think for me, it brings so much creativity. I feel like running for me, I am a better mom. I'm a better wife. I'm a better business owner. I am emotionally regulated. I feel like I do my best thinking, my best feeling. And I think sometimes it's easy to be on autopilot when you're in the midst of the chaos of day-to-day mom life and even just work life too, and to not really feel, and to just be like, I think I have to do this. I think I have to do this. Like, I have to do this. I have to do this. And as much as we always want to be present, it's so much easier said than done, especially as a business owner. So I love that running has given me the ability to feel sometimes, because it's just me out there and my thoughts. I have cried. I have laughed. I have let it all out there, like right on the boardwalk as I'm running every day. And I feel like it has been a life-changing hobby to pick up.
Honestly, I'm so inspired. I know a few people that run on the regular and it's like therapy, right? Like you're saying,
It
like
is.
you're healing yourself because you're giving yourself the space, the growth, the opportunity. And then obviously it has amazing physical benefits, which is so important also. And I just like I'm inspired. I'm like, "Ooh, let me get out there
Thank
myself," because
you.
I've always thought running was so cool. But I just didn't think I had the strength or endurance. So I'm just so in awe because I feel like you're just such a person of like when you set your mind to it. And you also remind me of my friend, Kathy Heller. Like when someone tells you no, you're like, mm-mm, nope, I'm going to show you now. Like, tell
Yeah.
me no. Go
Yeah.
ahead, tell me no and see what happens. Like, I love that
Exactly.
personality. If
I
there was
almost feel like
fun.
I thrive with that, as like ridiculous as that is, but like I sometimes need to be told no to like have that fire lit within me.
Well, that kind of circles back to what you said before when you asked for a loan from your parents and they said
Mhm.
no, you were like, well, okay.
Yeah.
Challenge taken, challenge
And
accepted.
yeah, and I remember like then the day that like the article came out in People magazine, I was actually on vacation in Jamaica. My parents are with me. And I can remember for the longest time after I started my business, my mom would actually say, people would be like, oh, what does your daughter do? And she'd be like, oh, she's a social worker or she's a therapist and she's just on maternity leave now. And I think for a while, she didn't say that I was a photographer. And I don't even know if she knows this. I don't think I've ever even told her this, but something like that, like stuck with me where I'm like, no, I'm a photographer now and I'm a damn good one. And to then have it become, my daughter is a photographer whose pictures have been in People magazine, who have been in Yahoo News, who like are all over and people all over the world. And she teaches students all over the world virtually, to like just was like, and to hear her say like, oh my gosh, like my daughter's pictures were in People magazine, coming from someone who didn't even want to acknowledge that I had changed jobs at first because she wasn't fully supportive, was such a huge moment too.
That's amazing. And I get that too. Same with my father. He's like, wait, you're going to leave teaching? You're going to leave the stability of teaching to do what? Yeah, so I get that. I can relate to that. And finally, same, my dad recognized something the other day. He's like, I'm proud of you. You're doing great. And I was like, thank God, because like it only took how many months for
Mm.
you to like turn that thought around. And sometimes like we want our biggest cheerleaders to be our parents or to be, people that are near and dear to us, and they don't always see the vision. But when we continue to show up every day, most importantly for ourselves, it reflects back. And I think that consistency is really key. It's something that you have to continue at, even on the dark days, or like you said, when you're in the thick of it, you just have to
Mhm.
keep showing up. And I think that's super important. What were some of the things that really helped you to get your business off the ground in terms of how did you raise the money? How did you get started with your classes? I know that you mentioned you had borrowed a camera. I just want to kind of go into the nitty gritty for anyone that's listening out there that feels like, well, dang, how do I even get started? If you could offer any tips or advice.
I think what I did, a huge part that I did was I did my research. I looked at like who is the best in the business? Who do I want to emulate? So I researched, and anyone can take a beautiful picture. Who can recreate that picture every day? So I focused a lot on who was consistently putting out work, who was consistently showing themselves, and who was, I loved looking at Anna because I felt like she had income coming from multiple outlets. She had her clients, she had product sales, but then she also had this whole newborn mentoring and photographer mentoring. So I think it's important to really do your research and see who do you gravitate to, who are you inspired by, and look at what can you do to emulate them. I think if people see you recreating exactly what someone else is doing, it's easy to be offended, to be like, oh my God, she's copying everything. But don't be afraid to reach out to those people. And like, there's so much power in saying to someone, like, I am so inspired by you. I admire all of the work that you do. I admire what you've built. Like, talk to me. And like, people love to talk about themselves. Ask that person, what did you do? How did you get started? How have you built this? So I think really there's so much power in doing research, finding the right people, finding the right mentor, and like really looking at them. Like I said, it's so easy to learn how to take a picture. It's to learn how to monetize that and into a business that you can sustain for years to come. I think there's so much power in that. So really doing your research of like who's been around, not who has the biggest Instagram following, who's out there doing what they said they're going to do, who has the numbers behind it, who has the portfolio, who has the client base. I may not have a ton of followers on Instagram, but I have a booming business with consistent clients every single month, with consistent product sales every single month. It's easy to look at like who's the shiniest one, but to look and see like who are you truly inspired by, and be okay, step out of your comfort zone a little bit and reach out to them and see how can I learn from you. And I did that with several. There were like 6 or 7 photographers who I went and traveled all over really to like learn with them and mentor with them and take bits and pieces and figure out kind of like what did I want my business to do and to look like and to feel like, and how did I want to show up, but also be okay, I think, with like constantly evolving, knowing that like what I started doing 10 years ago and what I do now, while yes, they're the same in theory, I've had to be okay with like adapting to trends, adapting to different clients' wants, working with other people, upgrading camera equipment, learning AI, learning things in Photoshop. So also taking everything and not looking at it as like a why is this happening to me, but like how can I take this and learn from this? Or what is this struggle trying to teach me? I think that's like the biggest thing is when I've reframed my thinking in terms of like, oh my God, why am I going through this right now? What do I need to learn from this? Because not every client is going to be happy. Not every client is going to be super easy and be like, go ahead, here you go, take my baby and do everything you want. I have some who are so far up my butt of like, I need this, and this. And you're like, hmm. But learning of like, okay, well, what is this person trying to teach you? Maybe it's trying to teach me a little bit of patience. And maybe I need to take a step back and really like think about where is she coming from? What does she have going on? And how can I connect with her in a way that she feels supported, throughout this session. And she feels like I'm bringing her vision to light while also staying true to myself. So I think there's so much power in that of like finding your right people, but also being okay with constantly evolving.
I think that's such a key element to having a continually successful business is that deep reflection of not why is this happening to me, but what can I learn from this? Because everything has a reason behind it. And sometimes we need that reminder. You know what I mean? We might forget that, okay, maybe this mom, had a struggle and is nervous. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, and to honor and recognize that it's like, that you're the best, one of the best,
Mhm.
and you know what you're doing, but sometimes that mom or dad might need that extra reassurance. So to step back and recognize that is also such an empathetic gift, such a
Mhm.
gift of empathy and being able to reflect. And I think that's probably what's going to continue to allow for you to have such success in your life because you are a reflective person. And that is such an important skill that not everybody has. So that you should really thank yourself for.
Thank you. I think that's like any business, truly. I think that is the key to any business, to always looking of like, how can I make it better? What is this trying to teach me? What do I need to learn from this? How can I grow? Not just thinking 3 months down the line, thinking 3 years down the line. If I do X, Y, and Z, what impact is that going to have on my business? Like positive and negative, but also thinking for yourself too. Like I talked about before, what do I want my business to feel like? What things do I need from it? What do I need from it? And I think like what I started to do when I started to journal was just like writing down, what do I need to feel from work? What do I need to like? And one of those things are like, I need boundaries. I need to not work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I need to close my laptop and call it a day and be the dance mom who's at a dance competition for 3 days straight, be the soccer mom, be the girl who goes on a date with her husband, or the present friend, or the girl who runs a marathon. And so I think also just really honing in on what you need from a business, putting those things on paper, feeling those feelings, really like truly taking time to think things through and to think about, like I said, everyone wants financial freedom, but like, what are you really trying to feel from it? What kind of opportunities are you looking for that it would afford you? And then how can you kind of tap into those feelings to really like hone in on what you want and what's important for your business?
And with that, what advice would you give for the person who is feeling like they want more, but they're not ready or sure? Like they know they want more and they know that it's there waiting for them, right? What would you advise them to do?
I think first and foremost, by anything, is trusting in the universe, trusting that if you can dream it big enough, if you are given that ability to dream this big, it is already there for you to take. Trust that the steps are coming for you to get there. Like that, and all with like divine timing, and that everything happens at the time that it's supposed to happen. And constantly go back to like, there will be hiccups throughout it, but reflecting and what is this trying to teach me? What is this struggle trying to teach me? What am I supposed to learn from this? How can I get better? And like consistency, I think is so huge. I think discipline and consistency will, like, if you can continue to show up every single day and do just something to make yourself 1% better towards that day, 1% better towards your business, towards yourself, towards whatever it is. But like, I feel like the littlest things, stack your wins too. If all you did that day was sit there and update something on your website, you still did something. If all you did that day was lounge on the couch with your kids, but you know what? Like reflect on that and be like, I wanted to create a job where I could be present. So like stack your wins, acknowledge your wins, and then also like, but consistently like show up for them too.
Yeah, I think consistency and discipline are super important. And it's so funny because the message for me that has been coming through that I've now heard from three different people, and you're echoing it a little bit, is nothing changes unless something changes. And
Mhm.
so you have to be the one that says, I want this to happen. And then you have to put in the work, whether it's the mental work, the emotional work,
Mhm.
the consistency, the
Mhm.
persistence. And like you
Yeah.
said, going out there and connecting with people that inspire you, connect to people who shine through for you, who are role models for you. And you know what? We sometimes get scared to reach out to people because we're like, oh my gosh, they're so cool or they're so inspirational. But people are so down to earth and they're willing to share with you. But like you said, you just have to open the conversation and just get curious. And if someone says, no, I don't have time, that's fine. Go to the
Yeah.
next.
And
Just,
like that wasn't meant to be. Yeah.
yeah, don't accept no for
Um,
an answer. Just keep going.
exactly. And I think just like always listening to that intuition. Like I feel like when I started my business, like yes, there were so many times where I'm like, is this the right thing for me? Especially like as I first started, and I'm like, well, what? Oh my God, we're losing like a consistent income. What is this going to look like? Keeping that faith and knowing that like I was given this gift for a reason. I took a chance on myself. I listened to my intuition and I did that for a reason. And like always kind of keeping that in the back of your head. Like I said, I'm such a big believer in like the universe wouldn't have allowed me to create a business this big if it didn't know that I could handle it. So when like life feels overwhelming or work feels overwhelming, to trust that there's a reason for that feeling to come through at that moment, continue to show up, don't give up, and reflect on what you built so far. Think about those little wins every day and think about like I always go back to like even in the most stressful times of like what would that girl who's sitting on her couch with an 8-month-old baby who is just starting her family and just really starting her life, what would she say? She would sit there and say thank you, like thank you for taking a chance on yourself, thank you for following your intuition, for creating this life that like now you've created a beautiful life with these 3 children for my husband. So like really going back and be grateful for the fact that you did that, you took that chance.
Yeah, I got chills when you said that because I was just wholeheartedly imagining that. And yes, your future self will 100% thank you for the risks and chances that you took when you believed in yourself. And I also believe that any idea that you have is planted there for a reason. And the gifts that come out of pursuing what makes us feel good is a gift for other people. Like you said before, you are sharing heirlooms that can be passed down for generations because of course you want to see pictures of, your grandmother when she was a little baby. And how
Mhm.
cool will it be the day that you are in business long enough where you get to take photographs of like a baby that you
Mhm.
photographed, baby.
Yeah.
That will
Yeah.
be
No,
wild.
I just finished up Chris's minis and like some of my clients, I've had them for 9 years. They've been with me since I started my business. And I remember like I texted a couple of them. It gives me goosebumps to talk about because I'm like, this is not lost on me. This is 9 years of memories that you've entrusted in me. And like there are, I want to say like 5 or 6 clients who have been with me from the very beginning. And seeing those kids now, they come up, they give me hugs because they know me, because we do family pictures every year, whether it's on the beach in the summer, Christmas pictures, and just like the pride that comes with that, that like this family has a connection with me, they value me. And like, even when the kids aren't easy, they're like, you're so easy to work with. We know you're going to do amazing things with whatever went on that day. And just like taking a second to really take that in, it's not lost on me. And it's such a rewarding feeling.
I love everything about this conversation. You are so inspirational, and I cannot wait to see what more happens for you because I also think that, like you said, you started this journey not well informed about manifestation, but I feel like you're definitely right there with knowing how to do it and continuously expressing gratitude and what more can you have? What more can you bring to your family? If my audience wanted to connect with you, please share where they can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram at KB_photo design. Also www.KristinBakerPhotography.com, Kristin with an I, Kristin. You'll see all of my pricing on there for anyone who's expecting, anyone who just wants updated family pictures, or if you are an aspiring photographer, someone who's thinking about just starting, just picking up a camera, or someone who's maybe been into photography but isn't sure how to work with babies. I offer photography mentoring, business mentoring, helping you start your business, grow your business, learn how to use a camera, all of it, and bring it into something bigger that you could have ever imagined as well.
I want to thank you so much for your time, and I'm going to put all of your information in the show notes so anyone who wants to connect with Kristin absolutely has accessibility to her and her beautiful energy. And I would highly recommend checking out her work and booking a session with her if you are expecting. And Kristin, again, I want to thank you so much for this aligned conversation. This was such a beautiful conversation, and your energy is just amazing. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you. I'm so excited for this. This was awesome. Thank you.
If you've been feeling the pull for deeper transformation, real, lasting change that starts from within, I'd love to invite you into transformational one-on-one coaching with me. This is where alignment becomes your new normal. You'll get 4 90-minute sessions at an introductory offer of $600, designed to help you release what's holding you back, reconnect with your truth, and step into the next version of yourself, fully and unapologetically. You can book your sessions through the link in my bio. Just tap my link tree to get started. Your next breakthrough is closer than you think, and I'd love to be a part of your journey.